You do not fear a Soviet tank. At least, that is what German officers tell themselves as they polish their boots and calibrate their Panzers. For decades, they have faced mechanized opponents across Europe and felt invincible. They know the strengths of armor, the Tiger's thick plating, the Panzer IV's reliable gun, and the disciplined coordination of mechanized infantry. Every officer in the Wehrmacht believes that given speed, precision, and firepower, Soviet armor is predictable, sluggish, and weak. This is the rule. The Red Army's tanks are toys compared to German engineering. Their crews are untrained, their vehicles under-armored, their doctrine primitive. Every morning on the Eastern Front reinforces it. Every report that trickles back from the front lines confirms it. The Panzer Corps laughs at these wooden-boxed, underpowered Soviet tanks. But in 1941, one tank would shatter that rule. One tank would turn that arrogance into panic. One moment, the Battle of Smolensk would make Germany realize that their carefully rehearsed assumptions about Soviet armor are catastrophically wrong. The T-34 was coming, and nothing the Wehrmacht expected would survive its impact. Lieutenant Ivan Kozlov is 22 years old, already hardened by months of combat in the Western Soviet territories. He stands slightly hunched behind the steel hull of his T-34, the icy wind of early July biting through his wool uniform. Born in a small village along the Volga, Kozlov grew up fixing broken carts and engines for neighbors, learning precision, mechanics, and patience, skills that now give him an edge in commanding one of the Red Army's newest tanks. It is June 1941. Operation Barbarossa has launched. German forces pour across the western borders of the Soviet Union, thousands of tanks rolling like a tidal wave. Cities burn, radio chatter is frantic, supplies are limited, morale is fragile. And yet Kozlov's T-34 is something different. Sloped armor that deflects shells, a 76.2-millimeter gun that can pierce any Panzer IV at 1,000 yards, and suspension that absorbs rough terrain without slowing down. For the first time, a Soviet crew feels they have a weapon worthy of the Wehrmacht.
The stakes are enormous. If Kozlov and his brigade fail, the German advance will smash through Smolensk, leaving Moscow exposed. If they succeed, the myth of German invincibility begins to crumble. He grips the radio handset, checking coordinates, listening to the faint rattle of artillery from the west. The terrain is forested, punctuated by small villages, muddy roads, and streams swollen by spring melt. Visibility is limited. Every decision could mean death. Kozlov breathes, looks at his crew, 3 men he has trained personally, and mutters, "We show them what steel is worth." The impossible action is about to begin. 1,500 yards. The lead Panzer IV approaches a bend in the road. Kozlov orders the T-34 to advance into cover behind a rise. The engine hums, vibrations rattling through his gloves. 1,200 yards.
The first German shell hits the ground a few meters away, spraying dirt and rocks against the tracks. 900 yards. Kozlov leans into the periscope, seeing the barrel of a 75-millimeter gun aimed directly at his crew. He fires. The 76.2-millimeter shell rockets forward, striking the Panzer's side. Flames erupt. The tank halts. Crew screams echo faintly through metal. Another wave comes. 3 Panzers flank his position. Kozlov orders a pivot, sliding his T-34 sideways, armor glinting in the early sun. 600 yards. The Germans cannot penetrate the sloped armor. Confusion spreads in the enemy lines. They fire repeatedly. Shots glance off. The roar of artillery mixes with engine growls. Suddenly, a Panzer commander shouts over the radio, "What is this? Impossible!" Their tanks move like ghosts. Kozlov hears it, barely suppressing a grim smile. A second T-34 joins him, then a third. The Germans are outnumbered numerically, but overwhelmed technologically. Kozlov coordinates with hand signals, navigating forests and villages, using terrain to mask movements. He fires again. 450 yards. The second Panzer explodes. The third veers off. Infantry accompanying the German tanks panic and scatter under suppressive fire. 1,000 meters of victory, but the cost is visible. Kozlov's loader is bleeding from shrapnel. Radio crackles intermittently, and the smell of burnt metal hangs in the air. Every shot fired brings Germans closer to disbelief. Every maneuver defies their expectations.
If you find this kind of untold military history as fascinating as we do, we'd be honored if you'd hit that subscribe button. We believe these stories of courage, sacrifice, and genius deserve to be told. And by subscribing, you help us ensure they aren't forgotten. Kozlov pushes forward. 300 yards. A sudden counterattack by a Tiger company looms. But the T-34's speed allows them to dodge, weave, and strike first. Smoke, fire, and chaos envelop the battlefield. The Germans retreat. The impossible has been achieved. One moment changed the perception of armored warfare. One tank, one crew has shifted the balance. What they didn't know was that this skirmish would echo across the Eastern Front. German command, initially smug, orders reconnaissance units to analyze the T-34. Shock turns to fear. Reports describe thick, sloped armor, high mobility, and guns that can penetrate any Panzer at normal engagement range. Doctrine changes. Tactics that relied on underestimating Soviet armor crumble. The ripple spreads. Smolensk survives longer than expected. German advances slow. Supply lines stretch thin. Every Wehrmacht officer who dismissed the Soviet tank now fears the T-34 on every road, in every village, in every forest. The myth of invincible German armor has shattered. From this day forward, tank battles are no longer one-sided. Europe begins to respect the technological ingenuity of the Soviet Union, and German planners must adjust strategies they thought flawless. Lieutenant Ivan Kozlov survives the war, returning to the Volga in 1945. He carries scars on his hands, memories of friends lost,
and the quiet pride of having been part of a turning point in armored warfare. The T-34 he commanded would go on to dominate tank battles across Eastern Europe, North Africa, and the final push into Berlin. To this day, the story of Kozlov and his three-man crew reminds us that courage, innovation, and human ingenuity can defy expectation. The T-34 is not just a tank. It is a symbol of resilience, skill, and the moment the Wehrmacht realized the war would not be so easily won. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or state and tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that Lieutenant Ivan Kozlov and the men of the 24th Tank Brigade do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered.